God, it's Friday. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations here on Business Morning. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and we're starting from the global space. As usual, where oil prices edge higher on Friday after U.S. President Donald Trump signaled a major announcement on Russia, raising fears of new sanctions. So looking at the numbers, we see Brent added 0.64% to $69.08 a barrel, while WTI climbed 0.78% to $67.09 a barrel. The gains follow Thursday's over 2% drop on concerns about U.S. tariffs and their impact on global demand. Analysts say that tight supply, rising seasonal demand, and Houthi attacks in the Red Sea also supported prices. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is expected to ship about 51 million barrels of crude to China in August. That's the largest volume in over 2 years, pointing to signs of strong demand recovery in Asia. However, the upside was capped after OPEC Plus announced plans to raise output by 548,000 barrels per day in August, with ING suggesting a possible further increase in September before any pause. The move could push oil market into surplus by the fourth quarter, adding downward pressure on prices. In its latest World Oil Outlook, OPEC also cut global demand forecast for 2026 to 2029, citing slowing demand growth in China. It now expects global oil demand to average 106.3 million barrels per day in 2026, and that's down from 108 million barrels per day that was the previous forecast. In Nigeria, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board has approved 448 expatriate quota requests for foreign workers in the oil and gas sector, even as the federal government intensifies efforts to achieve 70% local content participation. These quotas permit foreign experts to fill roles where local capacity is lacking. However, the approvals highlight Nigeria's ongoing reliance on foreign technical expertise, despite reforms aimed at boosting indigenous involvement. Concerns persist among stakeholders over the potential abuse of the quota system, with reports that multiple government agencies may be issuing approvals independently, undermining regulatory oversight. In March 2025, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, that's PENGASSN, they accused Sterling Oil of violating local content laws by hiring foreign nationals without proper clearance, reigniting debates around enforcement and compliance in the sector. To the financials now, United Bank for Africa has reiterated its commitment to expand across high-potential African markets and deepen operations in its 20 existing African countries. This was revealed during the group's 2024 half-year business review that was held at its global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, and led by the group CEO, Oliver Alauba. With over 51.7% of revenue now coming from outside Nigeria, UBA is accelerating its ambition to be Africa's most diversified financial group. Alauba emphasizes UBA's vision of building a truly global institution rooted in Africa, noting that expansion plans into the new market, which include Saudi Arabia. UBA, which began its Pan-African expansion in Ghana in 2004, now operates in 24 countries, including the United States, the UK, France, and the UAE. The bank is also strengthening its European presence, upgrading its license in France to better serve cross-border trade and the African diaspora. With 25,000 employees and over 45 million customers globally, UBA says it continues to lead in financial inclusion and digital innovation across the continent. And to some not-so-pleasant issues now. It looks like the disagreement on the diversion of the route of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road is far from over, even though we've seen the Minister of Works, David Umahi, holding meetings with some affected individuals. The latest is a protest that was taken to the Federal Ministry of Works at Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. The placards capture the grievances of this group of Nigerians.
people I represented this morning, the foreign investors, pool hard-earned resources in diaspora, up to 250 million US dollars together to support the administration of the Renew Hope agenda of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, in Okun-Ajah axis, with the hope of constructing a beautified estate of our own dream. All we had was to see the Minister of Works come with a notion to divert the legal Calabar Coastal Road from its initial original alignment. By the time it gets to kilometer 16, David Umahi, the Honorable Minister himself, admitted in a public speech, public interview, that he had to divert it into our property because of the West African cables.
Our demands are simple. In a road construction that involves the government, there's always a term of negotiation between the owners of properties has been destroyed and the government. But what we see in this situation is a minister who decided to use his own power and authority over the people. And that was why he chose to pay peanuts to the people whose property has been destroyed.
Well, that still goes on, and we hope it will be balanced or settled one way or the other. Now, in a move that signals a new era of integrated healthcare, financing, and technology in Africa, stakeholders have gathered in Lagos asking for the need for a connected ecosystem for the critical sector. They were speaking while reflecting on a major strategic shift for the sector, which is expanding its footprint and ambition from a healthcare technology startup to full-scale ecosystem builder for Africa's health sector. The digital financial platform says it provides healthcare and essential businesses with access to seamless transactions and collateral-free financing in 48 hours.
What we've just done today is to relaunch and to re-announce our ambition for the healthcare sector. Over the last couple of years, we've built systems, we've mobilized funding, and we continue to drive innovative solutions that works for healthcare businesses. And today, we are re-announcing those solutions and also birthing new ones that we believe will work for healthcare businesses. For us, we will not leave building our healthcare system to outsiders. We'll continue to build technology solutions and we'll continue to build financial solutions that everyday healthcare businesses can find useful to serve their customers. We've launched an improved version of our HMO software, which is already in use by some HMOs. We made it to be simpler, more efficient, and more customer-friendly. And also, we've launched for the first time our financing solution for healthcare businesses.
What we offer today are, one, provider finance to the healthcare sector, which basically means that if you need financing for any of your activities in the health sector, you can come to us and we will finance you. We have touched the lives of over 2,000 small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, mostly women-led businesses that employ tens of thousands of people that would have otherwise been, put into the labor force, unemployment. But because we're able to provide them, financing support, they have remained in business and they have continued to employ those people. So that's the kind of impact that our business, we know what we're doing. We know how we're impacting the lives of Nigeria. We know how a lot of people, over 1.3 million lives that we manage today, over 700,000 people we help to onboard for HMOs and other entities that we have collaboration with. And all these people having access to healthcare has changed their lives, because when you're ill and you are looking for money to pay for your hospital bill, that's when you know the the importance and impact of health insurance. So when you have health insurance and you find out that you don't have to pay out of pocket for that treatment because you had paid some funds earlier, then you can imagine the relief. And that's what we offer. That's the kind of service that we bring to bear on the industry.
The Murtala Mohammed Area Command of Nigeria Customs Service says the locally developed B Odogu platform has been working in its speed and efficiency since its operation within that command in May this year. The controller of the command, Michael Awe, explains that he reckons that there are about 70% compliance level in the declaration of cargoes, but airliners are not cooperating in the use of the new platform as they have decided to stick to their former system that's about to be phased out.
Godogo is here already, and thank God the performance is credible. So no network failure, everything is working accordingly. And we are very, very fortunate here. Most of the commands, 92 is completely shut down. But we are still very lucky here. Boats, they still work, very fast, so they are still together. So, but Bodogu is taking the highest, highest level in the area of operations. So what we are only experiencing is the airliners that are supposed to be dropping their manifest to Bodogu. So, but with time, and we have been saying that, because once 92 is shut down, I pray that they won't have issue. So, but the level of compliance is okay. And personally, I'm going to schedule a meeting to sensitize them so that they can as well follow suit.
Let's talk food security now. The latest is that the federal government is coming up with the idea of establishing mechanized commercial farms and livestock operations in university. I believe they want to start with 10. The project is supposed to be handled under the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, that's TED Fund. And during the inauguration, a 5-member committee on agricultural commercial farms evaluation, chairman of TED Fund, and that's Aminu Masari, explained that the beneficiary institutions must meet specific criteria. Sounds interesting. Another interesting move by the government to boost food production in the country. And I think the other part to this is get the youth also involved. But let's speak to the managing director of Banjiko Farms Limited. He's also the chairman, Agri Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tunde Banjiko, right here in the studio. Mr. Banjiko, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So you have been meeting with government, and now you want to bring in the universities.
No, I think it's a good thing, because I think on your platform some weeks back or months back, I actually raised it. So when I saw it, I probably said maybe they are listening to us.
I hope so. I hope so, because we also spoke to a university professor, University of Agriculture in, I think is in Umuahia and all of that. And they say they have something like this. But, I guess sometimes when we hear the announcement, the excitement just goes up, because we've had many beautiful ideas, but how do you see this working? Obviously, it's a good idea.
A good idea.
Commercial farming is what we need.
What we need.
Security is also what we need. Exactly. So how do you see this working, different from former attempts and former announcements?
I think the only thing is we'll pray they go see it through. They've started the process, which is good, commendable. It's a very
That's what you're going through.
Seeing it through to execution.
As in going through TED Fund, I think that should give us some hope.
Going by their history, that we see their works in the universities, most times structures in the area of research. Now that the new set of probably board members are looking at, out of their 27 area of operations now, 8 is actually dedicated to agric. That they're going to be focusing on 8 areas out of the 27 that will be focusing on different things in agric. So this is just one of it. So if they can actually see this through, now we are told they are reviewing those that have submitted interest. And the criteria really is not strict. It's not stringent. So a lot of universities should be able to meet up. Now they are saying...
Can you give us some of those criteria?
Just about 2 or 3. One, all you need is just 50 hectares. Very small, 125 acres. That's very small. That's number 1 criteria. Then you must have existing commercial farms operation in your own functional commercial farm running in your university, which some of the universities already have. They have a bit of agribusiness, and then you must have a value chain in which you're already operating. Because funny enough, when I also saw this, what came to my mind was I was in Abuja some months back, and I was driving in front of University of Abuja, and I was looking at the expanse of land, and I was saying, this is just wasting away when we could have done something better with it. The same thing, you go to University of Ilorin.
Most of the universities.
You know, you go to University of Alabisi Nabanjo University. So some of the university, we drive past and you see expanse of land doing nothing. And you know, villagers will encroach, use a part of it, not giving us so much value directly as a nation. So I think the criteria is simple enough. And now they are saying, oh, you also need, so you should be a University of Agriculture, or you must have a robust faculty of agriculture. So, you know, I think the commission also started last year when they gave about 30 universities in Nigeria 1 billion naira each to start something in commercial agriculture. So I think this is just like a follow-up. The federal government did that.
But have we seen the results of that, though?
I have not seen the result. I can but you know, it's a continuous thing. That's what I'm saying. So they gave them 30 billion to say 30 universities take $1 billion each. Expand your commercial farms. But I think what we need now to find out is, has that money been given to them? That I can't speak as of this morning, because I think that happened in December.
Now we are facing our reality, because of course sometimes we do hear these announcements, and even if the money would be given, the amount would be substantially different from what was announced. And so because of those leakages, the regulator in this case does not have the grounds
to hold them responsible.
Exactly. So, I mean, so that's why...
I think those are the areas, because like I was still chatting with some, you know, like earlier this year, we all got excited about the recapitalization of Bank of Agriculture. The vice president said by March and, you know, all that. But this is July, and the information I have, to the best of my knowledge, that this morning, it's not been done. So like you said, this is also another very good initiative. What we now need to probably plead with the government is to at least see some of these things through. Enough of this paper, TV, exciting us, we get excited. And you know, also, towards this mechanization drive again, last month, sometimes in June, I think 24th or 25th, we signed another one with Brazil government, $1 billion, which is a continuum of the Green Imperative project, to say we are getting tractors, technology from Brazil. But you know, we've been hearing Green Imperative for some time now, and we've not really seen. So I think what we should now be talking about really is execution.
Mr. Banjiko, what should we do about the situation?
We keep talking.
this can really get frustrating. What do we do? I mean, we have great ideas.
Great ideas.
We are now
Fantastic
sit and celebrate
ideas.
it. We map it out and say, oh yes, we've got the potential. We'll do this and we'll do that. And then after a while, less than a month, it just dies down, and then we're just back to normal.
Because I was also looking at, you know, talking about this for the university, I was also looking at, I mean, some weeks back, about 2 weeks back, the president, I mean, inaugurated the 2,000 tractors from Belarus. They gave some conditions, very simple conditions, but I'm not sure I've started seeing the impact of those tractors, because we are meant to use it for this wet season. This is July.
It's planting season.
This is planting season.
Planting season will soon be over.
So that's one of the gaps I've seen with government, because I think sometimes last year too, I got a call from the ministry, but we don't do things at the right time. So now
because we are politicking.
So now the issue, like you said some minutes ago, what's really the issue is we've politicized everything in Nigeria.
I don't know if I've told you, Mr. Banjiko, I've gone to some state ministries of agriculture, and you will see tractors there
lying down,
lying fallow, rusting away, and there are farmers in that state or in those states who are still using hoe. You know, and you just wonder what the
There was a
target
state
is.
in Nigeria that my company wrote, we wrote to them. We observed they had so many abandoned tractors, like you said, and we gave them a proposal to say, let's refurbish these tractors. Then we'll be giving out to your farmers at subsidized rates, because it has to be maintained and cost has to be recovered. We progressed a little in that conversation, but after some time, of course, the Nigerian thing. Some
You're
people,
not a party man.
Some people, I'm not a party man. I don't belong to any
You're
party.
not a party
So
man,
some
so you can't
people
walk
also
out.
advise the governor, the speakers, to say, no. Sell the tractors, their whole tractors, sell and recover the money. Of course, you know what will happen after
They
selling
themselves will buy
the
it.
money will go to some. No, they might even sell it. But the proceed from the sale definitely is likely to go to private pockets. And we gave a very robust proposal to say this will reduce cost of operation, food will go down in your state, it will extend to the nation, but the politics, I think that's one main thing that we've not been able to separate ourselves from governance from politics in Nigeria. Governance and politics have not been separated because you look at even some offices in Nigeria should not be held by politicians. That's my personal opinion. When you look at some offices that are held by maybe pure technocrats, they seem to get more traction than when they are held by politicians or when the private sectors are not well informed or involved in the execution. So like this one now, this university idea is a very lovely idea and is meant to even transform, because they say they are starting with 10 universities. And they also went further to say they are also going to empower 6 more universities to have research and testing. I mean, they will have research and they will have them as for some testing of some of their projects. So if all this is coming on board, but nobody can say, we don't even know when to ask them. I think they gave them 2 weeks to submit their report. So we'll be waiting after 2 weeks to see if there will be progress, and even no amount was mentioned in this one. Like the one of last year, they said 1 billion per university. We don't know how much they are giving to them now. So I think we need, maybe one thing, like you said, we need to start separating politics from governance. It's very important. We have not been doing that in Nigeria. Everything is politicized. Even when you see in some states, you hear this senatorial district, they are giving out equipment. But funny enough, the media always expose them. You some of them thanking the senators to say, we are card-carrying members. So you only give it to card-carrying members. And you say you're empowering your senatorial districts with tractors, with equipment, but only party members are benefiting. And what still happened recently in one state, which of course I won't mention, and then the guy that got the tractors didn't know the value, sold it maybe 2 million. So somebody sold it at a ridiculous, all in there was money, but he won it during their rally and all that. So we need to separate politics and governance from it, and we need to also now be more transparent with our requirement and execution, because you look at the 2,000 tractors, for example, 9,000 equipment from Belarus. People are asking, where are the tractors? When are we getting it? You said, you can either buy outright. Where do I pay? How much is it? I'm not sure anybody knows. You said I can lease it. So how do I lease it? For how many years? You said, thirdly, I can set up a tractor site in my local government. What's the procedure? How do I set it up? So we need clarity, and I think we need engagement. Government officials who come out giving this thing need to give more. There needs to be engagement. You see them at times when you even invite them to some public fora.
I've been inviting the Minister
for public
of
fora
Agriculture forever.
to explain more, just to explain more, clarify, so that we are not doubting.
Maybe
We are all
there's
Nigerians.
No sincerity of purpose.
We are all Nigerians, really. Some of us don't even have 2 passports. We only have 1. So we are more passionate, very concerned, but we need clarity. But the president said something in Brazil. I think that was when they were inaugurating the tractors. He said he wants to make agriculture attractive and sexy. Now that's a very good word. You want the youth to be interested, but there needs to be clarity. We need to engage more. And we need to know, what do we need to do? How do we go about this thing? That's when people can be, because now this is July. Like you called me, I was on the farm. Most people are almost done with planting. Most people will be, because you want to get the benefit of the rain. So if I don't get those equipment when I need them, if you give it to me by November, December, I'll probably keep it for next year. But maybe some late planting season, but it won't be as useful. And the impact ought to be felt from this year, especially considering what insecurity has been doing to us in some part of the country. We should look at what the flood has been doing. Niger State that has been doing fantastically well. Look at what flood is doing. So now with all those, we should have been paying more attention to know that to reduce the effect of this insecurity, the flood we are witnessing, we need to prioritize those areas that are already operating to give us more. So at least look at the numbers, they keep going up. For this year, lean season, for example, saying June to August, when the farmers are planting, harvest is reduced, we are going now to about 33.1 million Nigerians that will be going through acute hunger. We went from about 18 to 25 last year. So the numbers...
And we're having new policies every
and
day.
we're having new
in the
policies.
midst of all
So
of this.
those policies are meant to reduce our import of agric products. They are meant to reduce the poverty. Instead of those poverty index going down, they are going up. So when we say we are declaring state of emergency on food, I'm not seeing that body language following up with the action.
You know, I think at this point we just declare fasting and prayer.
Fasting and prayer won't do it. We know what to do, so let's do what we need to do. Because, for example...
Because, I mean, this Nigeria is not the only country where you have politicians, controlling some of these things. In America, for instance, sometimes you can even see some of those Republicans talk against Trump when they see he's going to an extreme.
But if you do that in Nigeria, you are out. That's the day they remember your file or something.
Yeah,
or
you've not been paying tax.
That you've not been paying tax, or your plate number is expired. Something will just come up. So everybody would rather observe table manners and keep quiet. But I think that's one thing that, even at times when you speak as an individual of your pain...
I've had some individuals who say they can't come on this program because when they talk against the government agency and all...
You're scared of what will happen to you.
Their businesses are threatened.
Yes, you're scared.
It's sad in a democracy, actually.
No, that's the truth. The more you speak about some of these things, just as a Nigerian, the more you are seen as attacking those in power, which shouldn't be. Constructive criticism should be welcome. Just saying, for example, like we said this morning, there are tractors. They are already in the country. Where are they? They should be on the farm. They should not be in one warehouse by now. They should be on different farms. I've also witnessed in one state, one day, I was in the secretariat. They acquired 20 bulldozers for clearing and all that. I think they did some clearing for some processors. After some time, all those bulldozers landed in the governor's farm. But
how big is the governor's farm to provide for the people?
For the people. So instead of you spreading the effects, reducing costs, and like we still say in Nigeria, bulk of what we eat, consume, come from 80% of smallholder farmers. We leverage more on aggregation in Nigeria. Not that we don't have so many commercial farms where you see 1,000 hectares, 2,000 hectares. No, in Nigeria, once you have 5 hectares, you are even, regarded as a small, medium-scale farmer, no longer smallholder. So we don't have so many farms having 2,000 hectares, 3,000 hectares. So we rely largely on aggregation. Even the processors, they rely largely on aggregation. So that's why we have to pay attention to those smallholder farmers. We have to look at, in some states now, if you can provide these bulldozers, for example, clear the land for them. To lease an hectare, a bulldozer now, for 1 hectare to clear, you'll be paying average of 800,000 naira. That's 2.5 acres. So imagine somebody wants to clear 5 hectares, which is just about 12.5 acres. You'll be talking of how many? 800 times 5, that's about 4 million. How many of our smallholder farmers can provide that? So the government really needs, the same way they are subsidizing this coal, subsidizing different things. And the funny thing, we are subsidizing pilgrimage as a nation. That part I don't understand. I want to go and pray.
I'm the one who wants
to go and pray.
Exactly, wants to take a religious journey. And then the government
a voluntary religious decision that I made in my room.
The government has to pay for it. And the
government is paying me to go for it. So I'm wondering, in some states you see government paying for people to do wedding. You know, some of these things
Can
are...
this be level of enlightenment in a society?
Those things provide loopholes to steal. That's just the basic things.
Yeah, but people are encouraging it. People put the laws and the rules there.
If the government are not saying we'll pay for you, then everybody should pray. We are a religious nation, like they say, but we don't see the effect. So we should start channeling our resources in the area. Because like I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday morning. Some of us pay people, some of our domestic staff, 80,000, 70,000. You wish you could pay more. But the truth of the matter is you can't afford to pay more. And you know, you ask yourself, how do these people really live with what I'm paying them? But you also cannot afford to pay them that much that can really take care of all their needs.
All their needs.
So we need to look at somebody earning minimum wage of 70,000. How would this person feed? Until we crash this idea of people spending 70% of their income on food, it's not something we should be happy about. It's not something that we should... It's
No,
not
but
that...
I mean, that has even been reduced now with the new data parameter
No, we know that's not the real...
for measuring inflation.
We know that's
Food
not the
has been
real...
reduced. The
We know
value...
that's not the real impact. Those are... I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to go into that. But we know the real thing is that when you give somebody 70,000 as minimum wage, how much is he going to buy? Maybe a pint of rice, a pint of beans, with an average of maybe 3-4 children, 6 families, because they really...
70,000.
How can?
Please, let's take a break. When we come back,
Okay.
we'll talk about the issue of adding value.
Okay.
You know, the processing and the value chain of our food crops.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a break. When we come back, we'll head to that side of the conversation right here on Business Morning. Please stay with us. Watching Business Morning right here on Channels Television, and we're talking about food security in Nigeria and some of those not so loud issues that seem to be deterring Nigeria meeting up with the target in spite of great sounding policies and in spite of state of emergency being declared. I think twice now we've had that. But I wonder what that means now, state of emergency. But let's talk about the issue of processing.
Yeah.
So we know that infrastructure is a challenge in Nigeria. That's no longer news.
Yeah.
So there's been conversation as in, why can't the industry go to the farm? For instance, if you go to Southern Kaduna, at least I've been there, and I saw ginger is, you know, it's just some people don't plant it, you just go there and uproot it. Why can't industries move closer to the farms so that from the farm to processing and maybe to export or to the gate? What's stopping that?
No, some factories are doing that already. Okay. Establishing close to the area of production.
The source of raw
some
materials.
Are doing that, while some will still have to evacuate for safety, for infrastructure, for control, to areas where they feel more secure to operate.
No, the issue of insecurity comes in.
So somebody, like you mentioned, Southern Kaduna, for example, somebody wants to establish a factory there. We also still look at the issue around, we still have some cultural issues. We can't shy away from that in Nigeria, where you want to go and establish, maybe as somebody from the south, you want to establish a factory. I have a friend who had to close his factory in Gombe. A friend in Lagos closed his factory in Gombe. So you still have some of those cultural issues, at times, not too strong though, affecting people or discouraging people from establishing factories in certain locations. So what we still need to do to help our, processing should be the ease of logistics. How can we move products from where they are being produced? Because, like we said, infrastructure and other things. So people probably prefer to operate in some location. And some also want to be close to the terminals for export. So they want to operate maybe probably in Lagos or anywhere in the southwest. So that once they are done processing, they want to export, which is also good for us. the more we also export as a nation, the better for us. So those are some things that I think is affecting our processing. Of course, we can't shy away from the funding part also for some of them. And some of them, even as of today, one thing we keep going back to is production. There are also factories who are shutting down, even though they are close to to the raw material, but they are not getting enough raw material. So you see some of them, probably you need, let me pick a product like cassava, for example. Somebody needs 100 ton daily to operate, and they're not getting that 100 ton. And you still have to pay people at the end of the month. You still
Run
have
your
to
operations,
run
power,
your
and all of
power
that.
and all that, and you are just probably operating once or twice a week. And the price of the commodity you're even getting is probably above your own budget. So you see some people that they will probably shut down during such period and probably wait. And all those things will be affecting our output. If a factory that should run for maybe 300 days in a year, probably is running for 100 days. Like I drove past one on Wednesday and I felt bad. A very big and massive poultry also. And I called the owner, a Chinese man though. I called him some months back that what's going on? This thing personally I don't want this thing to shut down. Even though it's been shut down. But he said funding and all that and all that. I said, oh, what can we do? And we got talking but they've not been able to come up. So funding is one
So
thing.
Bank of Agriculture would have come in such a situation.
Probably, I told him that we should probably, but I'm not sure Bank of Agriculture because their recapitalization, like as at this morning, has not been completed. So I'm not sure they have the structure they run currently with Bank of Agric might not be able to help them. But I probably will push him more and let's see if I can get something for him. So we still need to look out for our processors as well. So that's the point. And the anchor borrower also wanted to resolve some of this issue. It was a very good policy. But like we said earlier on, policy is good, how we execute them. Because the anchor borrower was meant to resolve the issue of the raw materials. So if we have enough raw materials, then they can go to the factories. That scheme is actually one of the best schemes that came out of Nigeria. We just didn't get it right. If the raw materials were coming, the farmers were expected to be in business for a longer period because the issue of market would have been taken care of. Then they will also be selling at a very good value because it will be like something like a community market arrangement.
Yeah, the connection, the chain.
The connection. So it would have been like I do for some commodity. I tell my processors this is how much it's costing me to produce. We have an understanding that at harvest, this is the minimum you can pay me. But because of some other factors, you see somebody, when it favors some processors, they go by. When it doesn't, they say, come to the table, and at the end of the day. But you can still find a middle ground to say, we should have a link. It has to be a link. The producers, the processors has to still work together. And you still sometimes too, I have some of my processors that when you tell them, okay, you've not paid, you promise, they'll say, these people that I also supplied will pay me in 45 days. So you have to also wait. So if you have to, and I tell people at times, we take also at times, because of the agreement we have with some processors, we take from smallholder farmers, we aggregate, supply them. And some of these smallholder farmers, by the time you are telling them, you have to wait for 7 days, you have to wait, some of them are already agitated. So you have to look for fund at times, you pay them, while you'll have to wait for 1 month at times, 2 months at times before you get paid. So if I have to wait like that, it will affect my cash flow and operation. So processing is good. And I think one thing we are also doing in Nigeria now that we can also start scaling up is mini processing. We don't have to all go and acquire a very massive warehouse. Processing is not until you acquire the whole of China's TV, for example. You can always start with a small space. Then we'll have to look at some regulators also discouraging processing. For example, somebody wants to get a NAFDAC registration, it's taking them ages.
NAFDAC said they've changed. I met with a NAFDAC official recently at an event, and he told me everything is smooth now. It's online.
I'm not sure the online is really online as of today because they still have to come to the factory to do some sampling, which is good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people still do 2 years at times before they get
a license.
Because of my own space of where I operate, I engage people. From here, I'm going for another event. So I engage every time. So people still have that bottleneck, discouraging them. Now you want to export some products you have to put NAFDAC, and you are trying to apply. So a lot of people also get discouraged from that processing value chain because of that. So we need to look at the regulators. How efficient are they? What are they interested in? Is it the product
or the money? All right, Mr. Banjoko, as you said, we'll keep talking about it.
We'll keep talking about
we
it.
will not be discouraged and frustrated.
Won't.
This is our Nigeria.
Nigeria will keep talking.
Managing Director of Banjoko Farms Limited, also the Chairman, Agri Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tunde Banjoko. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's just head straight to the global space and see what's happening there. We start from the UK, where the economy unexpectedly shrank again in May. According to data, it fails to shake off the impact of the US tariffs and business uncertainty. The latest monthly growth from the Office of National Statistics show that UK gross domestic product contracted 0.1% month on month in May, and that is more than analysts had expected. They had expected a 0.1% expansion. Weakness was concentrated in the production output, down 0.9%, construction down 0.6%. The figures will come as a blow to Finance Minister Rachel Reeves, who's made rebooting economic growth and reducing UK's budget deficit her core aims. And the latest data follows a contraction of 0.3% in April when domestic tax rises were introduced, and US President Donald Trump announced tariffs on trading partners and adversaries alike. The tariffs frenzy sent global markets into a tailspin and created widespread business uncertainty. Still in the UK, and not good news, total goods and services trade deficit expanded £6.7 billion in 3 months to May, reaching £13.2 billion, according to data from the Office of National Statistics. In May, UK exports to the US increased by £300 million. Well, that doesn't mean that it was really valued. It's more now. Recovering from a significant decline in April that occurred during a period of tariff disruption, the ONS attributes this export growth to an increase in chemical shipment. At the same time, imports from the US decreased by £900 million in May. The reduction was primarily due to lower imports of oil and gas, as well as ships and aircraft. We go to Germany now. Traders have ramped up bookings at German natural gas storage sites, marking a sharp turnaround from earlier this year when the country exited winter with stockpiles at a 3-year low, and an unusual market structure made refills unprofitable. The nation's available capacity in underground storage sites was more than 70% booked as of this week, marking an important threshold as it's in line with Germany's pre-winter storage field goal. A recent drop in summer gas prices helped make storing gas more profitable, and traders pumped nearly 10 terawatt hours of the fuel into reserves last week, and that's the biggest 7-day increase since 2022. In France, consumer price inflation rate increased to 0.9% year-on-year in June. That's up 0.6% in May. The country's statistics office confirmed this. The final reading matched both the preliminary figure and analyst expectations. The domestic consumer price index rose 1% year-on-year in June, increasing from 0.7% in May. This uptick was primarily driven by accelerating service prices and a smaller decline in energy costs. Core inflation, which excludes volatile items, edged up 1.2% in June from 1.1% in the previous month. And to President Trump, the pharmaceutical industry, they're scrambling with scenario planning as US President Donald Trump's 200% tariff proposal threatens to drive up drug prices and rip out corporate profit margins. The president once again warned on Tuesday that long-awaited industry-wide tariffs would be announced very soon after the administration launched a so-called 232 investigation into the sector in April. Trump suggests that those levies would not go into effect immediately, but get a grace period of about a year or a year and a half to come in. Analysts nevertheless warn that such a rate, even with a delay, will have detrimental effects on drug prices and profit margins. And still staying with President Trump, he has raised tariffs on Canadian imports to 35% effective August 1, complaining that Ottawa had retaliated with duties against Washington. He said instead of working with the United States, Canada retaliated with its own tariffs. Trump said to Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, in a letter posted on Truth Social. He attributes this as a reason for that rate in the letter. He says, if Canada works with me to stop the flow of fentanyl, we will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter. A total of 43 pounds of the drug was seized at the northern border during 2024, with additional 58 pounds having been confiscated there so far this year. And in Bulgaria, Fitch Ratings has upgraded Bulgaria's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating to BBB+ from BBB, following the approval of Bulgaria's euro adoption scheduled for January 2026. The global ratings agency stated that the Eurozone membership will provide Bulgaria with reserve currency status and strengthen its monetary policy framework. Additional benefits include lower transaction costs, elimination of exchange rate risks for corporate and household balance sheets, and access to external funding opportunities. And Russia, as their largest liquefied natural gas, Novatek, opens on Friday its second quarter natural gas output. That went up 2.8% year on year to 21.18 billion cubic meters. Crude oil and gas condensate output in April to June quarter also went up 2.2% from the same period from a year ago to 3.44 million metric tons. And that's about 277,450 barrels per day. Now, yesterday we talked about stablecoin adoption, and I got informed that even some small businesses in Nigeria have started using stablecoin for transactions. Let's see the bigger picture now with Amanda Wolverton, Global Marketing Executive, especially amidst US-China, now Canada relations, trade relations, and see what's happening with stablecoin. Hi, Amanda. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Great. So stablecoin adoption seems to be a conversation that is catching on now. Yesterday we discussed it from the African perspective. How is it going from your perspective?
That's a really good question. Not only in Africa, globally, especially with recent legislative movement in U.S. Senate and House for passing the SAPO Act, for passing the Genius Act. And that really provided a lot of momentum, the tailwind behind stablecoins. So there's a global adoption, especially both from the US and also in Asian continent as well as African continents. The global coins are really gaining, stable coins are really gaining momentum.
So tell us how it works. In Asia, especially amidst the trade war, does it help to simplify trade amidst all of the tariff? Is there a way of hedging against tariff with stable coins?
I think there's a potential. There's definitely two areas of how the digital currencies are seemingly the policies are being divergent. From the US perspective, the Western system, there was a huge support for private stablecoins. For example, that the latest US legislation encourages banks, for example, e-commerce companies to issue their own stable coins. You probably have heard that Amazon are contemplating announcing that they might also issuing stable coins. But there's also another trend in Asia, especially for China, that they are issuing government central bank backed e-currency is called central bank CBDC. So that's very different from a private business or a bank issued stable coins. But the global trend is the near instant, very low cost current digital stablecoins would enable the seemingly seamless flow of transactions. So I think that's going to really help global commerce in the bigger context of a tariff and a lot of barriers.
How soon How
go
soon,
ahead.
Amanda, do you see this becoming a reality where the adoption increases and perhaps it becomes a hedge amidst the tariffs?
It is already a reality. In 2024, the global transaction totaled $24 trillion in digital currency backed transaction. That surpasses the combination of both Visa and MasterCard transaction combined. So it is already a global reality.
All right, Amanda, thank you so much for that. This new reality that we're seeing, stable coins. We'll see how go and how fast it goes. Thank you so much, Amanda Wolverton, Global Marketing Executive.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now just before we go, let's see the market yesterday. It's not letting up. Investors are still at it, digging into the market, digging in, and we hit a new high again yesterday. I think we're in 2 steps to 124,446.80. That's the all-share index of Nigeria's stock market. It's an exciting time, and it went up more than 2%. And the market cap has gone from 76 trillion naira to over 78. Look at that, 78.7 trillion naira. Can we do 79? These are money in people's portfolios. I hope you're one of them. So yesterday, the market gained 1.76 trillion naira. Activity chart was all green volume, almost 50%, value more than 50%, deals 14% plus, and then top gainers, FTN, Cocoa, Caverton, and HM Coal. Top losers, NAMED. Well, NAMED has been gaining for a while, so I guess it's time to take some profit. Legend International, IMG also made the top losers. Top trades, Japan Gold is back in the move. Trust the banks. And ICO, we saw ICO drop 2 days ago, so that has encouraged some buy-in, and so we've seen it go back to top trades yesterday, about 81.96 million naira. So it's an exciting market at this time for a lot of African market, but more exciting because Nigerian market is really trending upwards. The bull is taking this run really seriously and sustaining it. So you don't want to miss out of the action, yeah? Ask your consultants for advice. That's it on the program Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We'll do it again in a couple of hours. That's 1 p.m. Business Incorporated. So I'll be here to take you around the world of business, and then we'll have fresh stories and intraday numbers for you. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Talk to you later.